Hey guys, Chris Bianco, Weichert Realty Civic Center. It's Monday night training, and we're going to go over tonight. We are going over Conversion, which is our CRM, our client retention management software. It's pretty complex. One of the things that I think a lot of the new agents get stifled with is, understanding all these big websites. So I started doing some training on that. Keep in mind, a new agent has to come in, and one of the things they got to learn is the MLS software and that website. Another thing they got to learn for us is the Weichert website and all the tools and systems they have on that. And the third piece is the contact management software, which is absolutely dynamite. It's a game changer. But it's very complex. And to make sure that all of our agents know the tools and the systems that are available to them, so they can take full advantage of it, I'm going to do some training on it tonight. So here we go. All right, you guys. So here's the first thing that I look at when I look at on a weekly basis, and you're looking at the dashboard that the account manager has access to. And I'm constantly looking for the number of total leads that were added for the month. We have 3,081 leads added for the month, which is our biggest month in a while. So that's a great piece. Big part of that, I will tell you, is Todd and Lindsay, myself, and also Nelsie. Nelsie actually has almost 1,600 leads after 3 weeks of being here. So she's really working hard at this thing. The second piece that I look at on this thing is I look at the number of calls that were outbound made, okay? And there's a little bit of a disconnect here for me as a manager, because we should be having, closer to, we're adding the leads, but we're not contacting them, and that's a point of concern for me. So I would be talking about that in probably Tuesday's morning.
And I think probably the one piece with that too is we're making a crap ton of calls, but
you're not recording them.
It's not through there.
Yeah, so here's the thing.
So I go on here and I get the number and I call, and then I just put it in our notes that so-and-so called,
right.
This is the conversation.
And I have talked to Todd about that you're not logging your calls in on those, and that could be problematic in the sense that if you're making a shit ton of calls, then are you up to speed on what you said to Joe and what you said to Mary? So, so logging them in here would be
they're all in our notes for sure. It's just the call isn't logged.
Right. I get all that. And then, of course, one of the things that we're going to look at is how to schedule those calls and how to do those kinds of things. That's one of the pieces we're going to look at. So keep in mind, that's what I'm looking at. We should be closer to here than to there. And again, there are some reasons why we're not, and I understand that you guys are making a lot of calls. I know that when I talked to Todd about this last week or something, he had mentioned to me that he made over 90 calls, but none of them were logged. So this is going to be a lot more, but because you guys aren't logging them.
I think the ones that show up on Conversion, like our 5 for the day or whatever, those get logged.
Right.
But then we're going into the Sphere and going into Active and just pulling names and numbers.
Yeah. So
and we're putting in our notes everything that happened, but we're not actually saying on there that we called.
So the one piece that I'd probably talk to you about on that is, number one, I get it, and you're doing it, you've got your system in place and stuff like that, but wouldn't it be nice to have one place for all these notes and call logs and things like that, and I can provide this for you. But again, so that's kind of what I'm looking at, is make sure that we're getting our outbound calls and making more outbound calls. We're going to get more inbound calls and that kind of thing. So we're going to go through that. And then this breaks it down on buyer leads and seller leads and that kind of stuff. So those are some of the things that I'm looking at. Now let's go to a dashboard, for instance, and let's look at what we would do for, and we've talked about how to enter a lead. Does that make sense? And my dashboard, I'm on my dashboard, hi Chris, and it says that I have 5 calls to make, okay? So what I'm gonna do here is first of all, I'm gonna click that button, and then it's gonna lead me right to the people that I need to call. And then as I'm calling them, I'm going to click one of these numbers. It's either a bad phone number, and that will wipe out the number of calls that is scheduled for this because we figured out it's a bad number. I'm either going to click not home. Normally what I do is I try and get them by Land Air NC. So I'm going to send them some kind of piece of letter or mail or something like that. I'm going to hit them through a phone call. I'm going to try and email them. And if not, I'll text message them. And keep in mind that text messaging is the world's most common form of communication now, either through an app like Instagram or Snapchat, or direct messaging through like Facebook, or direct text messaging through the phone. I've found that I get a lot more responses through text message than I do phone calls. So the public is shifting towards not answering the phone and doing some different things that way. So anyway, so like let's say I call this guy Anthony Corkis, I guess is how you say that, and he doesn't answer. So I'm going to put in here, what would you like to do and it's going to direct me right to my notes, and I'm going to put in there left voicemail, and then I kind of tend to abbreviate things like this, like left VM, and then I'll put in there and sent text. Okay, oops, let me get my caps off. Okay, and then I'm going to add the note, and then it's going to ask me what do I want to do. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to schedule another call. Now again, I'm going to put the same thing in, call number 1. Let me back that up. Call number 1, left voicemail, and text. Okay, and then I'm going to put a call date. Maybe I want to call them in a week, so I'm going to schedule this out for a week from today. And again, for us, what we've realized is we do iCalls on Wednesday nights from 4 to 6, so a lot of my calls I set up on Wednesdays. So I'm going to set this up for next Wednesday.
July.
Yeah, July 10th or whatever it is. Let me look at that again. We're right here, right? We're
29th.
29th, yeah. So maybe I'll set it up for next Wednesday, the 7th. And then, so the way the system works is that, and this is the way I do it, is that if I put that, so that this time automatically defaults for when you're on conversion. So if I'm on it at 1:30 in the afternoon, it's going to default to 1:30 in the afternoon. If I miss that call, let's say I decide to make my calls at 5 o'clock that night, right? So one of the things, it'll force me as a missed call. So what I always do is I make sure I set this back to the end of the day to make sure I got all day to make that call if my schedule demands that I do something different. So I might put it in there at 6:30 p.m. Okay, and then I'm going to sync it to my Google Calendar. I'll get an email reminder that I owe this guy a call on the 7th of August. So then here's a piece that I try and do. Now I'm a big subscriber in the 444 method, so it's 4 calls a week for 4 weeks until they answer, and then if they don't answer, just trying to prompt them on responding, and then it'll be 4 calls, 1 a week for 4 weeks, and then it's 4 calls, 1 a month for 4 months. So first thing I'm going to do is set up my repeat calls, and I'm going to sit in here, and I'm going to make 4 calls. Oh, whoops, a little too fast. It'd be nice to have a mouse pad here. 4 calls.
There you go.
4 calls, and then let me get rid of this. And over a period of 1 week. Okay? You can dial that down. I'm pretty aggressive with it, but you want to make sure that you're scheduling that. And then we're going to add a call, and then we're going to add our calls. So there it is again. And again, keep in mind that once I've done all that, then I'm going to go back, and this is what I do. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to say, what would you like to do? And I want to send this guy a text. So I'm doing the note that I did. So I do it all in one shot. Hey buddy, just thinking about you, whatever the text might be in correspondence with the lead. So that is how I do my calls. And then I continue to go through it. Once in a while you get a bad number. Once in a while you get a hold of them, whatever it is. But anyway, those are some of the things I'll do.
Can I ask a question about the text messaging? Will that somehow sync to your SMS program on your phone or not?
Meaning?
Like,
so the way that'll work, let me see if I'm answering your question. So you text through conversion, okay? And you're actually texting through the smart number. So you're texting, they'll get a text from 480-428-1781. That's our smart number.
Right.
They'll respond to it. When that response comes back, or in an email, or whether it's a phone call or whatever, when that response comes back, it'll have that phone number on there that it was driven from. So it'll have that client's phone number, text message from 602-12345, right?
Right.
And what conversion will do is that it'll find that number, it'll recognize it as Regina's lead, and that response will come right back to you. It won't be distributed out.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
And that happens in an email too. Conversion has the ability to find out where that email address was originated from. And
we got one today, and it came up conversion, and then you click on it, and it tells us, and then it says what they responded with.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now what I will tell you is you cannot respond to that text message.
Right.
You can't respond to Joe, the client, through the smart number.
Right.
So you'll have to click on that.
Into conversion.
You'll have to go back into conversion or click on the phone number or that pops up.
Yeah.
and do something through there. So that does do that way. Does that make sense? So that's the big piece. And then what you can do is, again, once you put in your notes, you'll be able to refer back to your notes, and it says, hey, schedule first call, left voicemail text, created 7:29, and then you can look at your schedule. On 8:8 I have a call. That's 8:7 I have a call. 8:8 I have a call. 8:9 I have a call. Those are the 4 calls that I've scheduled, and 8:10, and then you go from there. So then after that, I might throw in an edit here that says put them on weekly calls, that type of thing, for the next week. Next calls I schedule will be 1 a week for 4 weeks, and that kind of thing. So we know that we're hitting them enough time. Keep in mind that they're not going to respond, generally speaking, till the 7th, 8th, or 9th touch. Now I'm reading data that says as many as 12 touches, so keep that in mind. So you want to be kind of out there, and that keeps a good idea for it. And then if they reply, you'll get a correspondence. You'll see some things in here where they, and I've already set up their drip. You see where the outbound messages are going. And one of the things that I did when I set him up was profile. We can go to this, and I've clicked on the button down here that says send monthly valuations. That's why he's getting those. So when you go back to the correspondence, it'll say in there, just letting you know this month you're home at da 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 da, because I've entered him as is worth 319,000. This is computer generated number, so don't take it to heart if the number doesn't correspond with reality. Feel free to give me a seat. So I've clicked that button to make sure that he's getting some good drips and things like that. He's getting a monthly evaluation.
Is that a template letter, or is that what every one of us gets, or do we have to?
If you click that button, that's what you'll get.
Yeah, when you click that button, send monthly evaluation.
Right, this is pre-populated.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is canned.
Gotcha.
And another word is canned.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it'll be personally branded to
I
you.
like it though. I like filling the human factors,
Yeah, it'll be personally branded to you. It'll definitely be personally addressed to him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. And I can show you some other examples of that. If I go to my hashtags and I go to, say, let me find one up here. How about Green Street? So there's a Green Street lead. And most of these I've clicked it. I've intentionally clicked on monthly evaluation, but sometimes I forget that. But we can go to profile, and I have not. So I click on that and update it. Go from there, and they'll get the same thing addressed to Ray and Rizan, I guess how you say that. So that's what I do. So keep that in mind. And the way that I do that is when I fill in their profile, well, that's why it's not giving them a weekly update, because I have no property address.
Mm-hmm.
But when you fill in the property address, it'll do it. Now that's why it's not clicking yes. Update profile, it'll come back and say no because there's no property address for us. Yeah, so you can go back and find one that I've got an address on.